Magento as the content management system, as well as as for e-commerce and catalog. The content management capabilities include the ability to create pages and put content on those pages, and you don't have to be a programmer to do that. There is a graphical user interface for that. Other capabilities of the content management system is to create blocks, which you may have seen in other content management systems where you can create small blocks of text. And generally when you would do this is when you have something that's repetitive on the site, so you don't have to edit it over and over. If you put something on a page and you have it 15 places, you don't want to have the text actually in your site 15 times. You want to have one block and tell it to go to those 15 places. Now, how do you tell it where to go? That's a new feature in Magento called Widgets. And so what we're going to find out is how to place blocks using widgets. What we're going to do today more specifically, we've got a fictional site. It's called Paddles Up Paddleboards, which I'm very interested in water sports, and I thought that would be a fun site to do. But we're going to do what is very, very commonly asked for these days, and we're going to add a free shipping block. We've decided to do free shipping on our website. So we want a free shipping block to appear both on the left-hand column of every page, but then in a special place on our product pages, and we'll see that in a minute. So we're going to create the free shipping block, then we're going to add a static block widget instance, and that's the technical terminology for it. It's a widget. You'll hear me call it a widget for slang, but it's a static block widget instance to the block where we want the free shipping to go. So then basically we're going to add a layout update to tell where all we want that block to be placed, and that'll be in the widget. We'll add a layout update to the widget for both of the places where we want to place the block. Then finally we're going to create a CMS page, just a regular page that explains more about the free shipping, and we'll link our new block to that page. And then the last thing we're going to do is make our new block appear first. As far as Magento concepts that we'll touch on, we're going to talk about structural blocks and how that relates to CMS blocks. What are the differences between those? We're going to talk about how to use widgets to place the CMS blocks, how to do the layouts and layout updates, and then finally how to use content management pages. And just a couple of housekeeping notes. We are recording the webinar, and the slides will be available on the summer webinar series page on the Magento site. And also, too, you will be given an exit survey, and we request that you reply to that so we can improve as we go along. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about here are structural blocks in Magento. Magento layouts, which is basically the way to how your page is structured. For instance, right here on our sample site, on the home page, I've used a 2-column layout, which you can see here because it has 2 columns. And it's a 2-column left layout because the extra column is here on the left. There's also a 2-column right layout where you'll see the extra column on the right. And so these are the various default layouts that are available in Magento. Now, this is what you call CMS blocks. The CMS blocks are way different than structural blocks. Structural blocks are places in your page layout, in your structure or your template, that you can place certain things. So like left or header or main, that's a structural block. A CMS block is a piece of content that you're creating that you'll place in the structural block. So you might have a CMS block that you can place in the left structural block. So we'll get to that. It's not as complex as it sounds. But those two terms are very similar, so I thought it was important to make the distinction. Our mission today, what we're going to do is we're going to add a free shipping block to a CMS free shipping block to the top left of all our 2-column pages. So right now, our site looks like this. And what we want it to look like is the one on the right where you can see the free shipping block. Part 2 of our mission is going to be to add that free shipping block also to the product pages. Now you notice that it didn't automatically appear on the product page in the left-hand side like it will on the home page because the product page uses a different layout. It doesn't have a left-hand column. So it's all one big block because that's how we decide to lay out our products. So in this case, we need to slip our free shipping block into another spot. So we'll see how to do that. And then part 3 of our mission today is going to be to create a new content management page, which this is. This is a free shipping content management page that explains more about what our free shipping actually involves. And what we're going to do in part 3 is we're going to link our CMS block to our free shipping page that we create. So we're going to do all those things today. Okay. Our first step, these are our steps. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our CMS block to our pages. So we got to, first step 1 is to create our free shipping block. Step 2 is going to be to add content to it and save it. And then we're going to get into creating the widget. Now the widget is what places the CMS block throughout the site where we want. The widget references the block that we're talking about, and then within the widget, we'll create layout updates that tell the widget where to place the block throughout the site. And I have a step 5 repeat as needed because what we're going to do today is we're going to put our free shipping block in 2 different spots on 2 different types of layouts. Okay, so let's hop over to our site here. All right, so the very first thing we're going to do, behind the scenes, I have opened up Magento's administration panel here, which is where everything is controlled for the front end. And the section we're going to be focused on today is the content management section. So I'm going to choose CMS. And the first thing we're going to do is create our static block for shipping. So I'm going into CMS static blocks. Now behind the scenes, I have already created our free shipping block. If you did not already create your block, what you would do is you would add a new block. In this case, in the interest of time, I'm just going to edit the free shipping block that I created earlier today. So let's bring that up. Okay, here's our free shipping block. When you're creating your block, you first make a title, free shipping. Then you make an identifier. In this case, we're not going to use the identifier for anything, but it is required. There are pieces of code that you can write that will reference a block and place it different places. We aren't using that. We're using the widget, but the identifier is still required. So I called it free shipping. Now this next block is very interesting. This is our store view. In this case, in my particular store, in Paddles Up, what we're attempting to do here is have our store appear in several languages. So we've got different store views created. Right now, I don't have anything under the other languages yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave free shipping appear in all store views under this language. Now, again, if I had a French version of the words free shipping as well as a German, I would want to create separate blocks and tell them to go only to different languages. But in this case, I'm choosing all store views. This next box is very important, status enabled. Now, you'll notice I have this enabled already, and it's already created. Why doesn't it show up here? You may know the answer. The answer is because we haven't placed it with the widget. So we've got this block that exists here, and it's enabled, but you can't see it anywhere because we haven't placed it. So what we're going to do here, this is basically how I created the thing. You can see how I created this block. I pulled in a graphic using this. There is a function here where you can upload your graphics. And I think Kara has shown you this in a previous webinar, but it's very basic. You can upload your graphics. You can choose your graphic from the media storage and then place it inside your content area. Now, you also notice, too, some very basic things here. We've got an editor. We can pull this up in HTML and see our HTML this way if we prefer to code in HTML. Also, too, we can also hide this whole WYSIWYG editor if we want and just see the codes that way. Okay, so there is our free shipping block. And since it is already saved, we don't have to press Save Block. We're just going to hit the back button. If this was not already saved, at that point we would save the block. So it's very simple, very basic to create a block. Okay, so then after we've created our block, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a widget instance that references this block. So this is how we do it. We're going to create a widget instance, and what the widget's going to do is say, okay, this is what type of widget it is. It's a CMS static block. It uses this design. Right now I'm using the default theme. You give it a title. You tell it what store you want to go to, and then we'll give it some layout updates to tell it where to place the block. We'll also go into widget options, which tells it how to select the block. What block is it we want to use? So let's go ahead and hop back over to the website. Okay, so once again, right now we have no free shipping here, and just to let you see inside the product area, paddleboards, don't those look like fun? I haven't gotten to try that yet. There's no free shipping indication here either, and we know we want that because that was in our design plan for today. All right, so go back to our home page over here. So now our step is to create the widget. So we go into CMS once again, and it's widgets that we're going to choose this time. Okay, so once again, here are my widgets that have placed the blocks on my page. Now I have a widget for each of the main blocks here. I have one for my Facebook icon, you can see. I have one for Learn to Paddleboard. This particular one we're going to work on is free shipping. And once again, if I needed to create this from scratch, I would create it right here as a widget instance. I have previously created this. However, we have not told it to appear anywhere, which you'll see. That we'll do through the layout updates. So I'm editing my free shipping widget. Okay, so at this point, I've pre-selected the type, which is CMS static block. There are a number of types of widgets that do a number of different things. The one that I have found that I use over and over is CMS static block, because that's the one that lets you place the blocks on different pages. That's just so helpful. Okay, and then I have chosen my design in here, which in this case is default. I have a title for my widget, free shipping, and once again, I've told it to show up on all store views. All right, now the next thing I want to do is make sure that I have my block selected. So that's on widget options, so I tell it which block that I'm working with. And the way I do that is I'm going to choose select block, and there's a list of all our blocks that we saw earlier. This is the one we just created, free shipping. So free shipping is our block that we're working with. Now over here on the right, we have the Save and Continue Edit button. You'll find working with Magento's administration interface that you'll use that button a lot. That is your friend. Save and Continue Edit is your friend, because in that way you won't accidentally lose your changes. You can work in these screens, and some of them are complex and have a lot of different sections to them. And Save and Continue Edit will save what you're working on, and often it will pop you up to the next required field. So we're going to Save and Continue Edit on that. Okay, and it popped me back to my main screen here for my widget, for my free shipping widget. The next thing that I want to do, we have our widget, which references a block. We have the block, of course. We already created that. So the next thing that we want to do is we have to tell that block where to show up and on which pages. So we want to say, okay, show up in this structural block on this type of a page is how this works. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add a layout update. And right now, like I said, we still have no free shipping here. Until the layout updates are done, we have no free shipping on our site. So what we want to do, the first thing we're going to add a layout update for is to add that to all the 2-column left design pages. So all the pages that look like this, with a big main column and a skinny left column, we want our free shipping to show up on all of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose, under Layout Updates, we're going to choose Display On. And it wants to know, what do you want to display this on? Well, I'm going to say all pages, and I'm going to say display it in the left column. Now, the reason I just went ahead and chose all pages is because if it doesn't have a left column, it's not gonna matter. So that'll show up on all my pages, and it'll show up in the left column. So I'm going to add my, I'm going to save my change here, Save and Continue Edit. And it'll tell me right here it's been saved. Always check for that and make sure that you're not still refreshing or not still, that your browser isn't still at work before you refresh and look for your change. So now when I refresh, there is my free shipping block right there at the top on the left. And all my pages that have a left-hand column will have that free shipping, block there at the left. You see here, it's also on my category pages. So, however, on the product page, it doesn't have that left-hand column. So there's somewhere else that we can tuck that free shipping. We decided as a design team that we want our free shipping insignia, our free shipping graphic to come up right here. So there's a second step that we need to do to our widget to make that happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another layout update. Now, in this time, we want it to display on our products. So actually, though, let's see here. Let's put all product types. And what block did we want it to display in? We want it to display in the Product View Extra Hint block. And what we'll find when we save that is it'll put it right where we want in that little spot. So I'm going to Save and Continue Edit. And then we're going to reload our product page. And there it is, right there where we wanted it to show up, next to, beneath the price. So there's our free shipping. So we have successfully added a free shipping block to the product page and to our other pages that have 2 columns. Now, in this case, we're going to back out of our widget here because our work is done with our widget. Now, one thing that's important that we do not need to change here, but we very well could. This is what explains where the widgets show up. If this did not already come in as the first item on the left here, then we would want to change the sort order of the widgets. And you can do that by editing, and there's a field for sort order. So you would put them in the order that you want them to appear. And here we have free shipping first, learn to paddleboard, and Facebook. And if you look over here, that all matches up. All right. So there are our results, just as we wanted, with the free shipping showing up where it's supposed to, even though they're 2 different layouts. And once again, this is a single column layout, right? This is just a 1 column layout, and this is a 2 column left layout. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we've decided that we want our free shipping logo to link to a CMS page that explains it. So we want this free shipping logo, which right now it doesn't have a link, and we're going to link it to our CMS page. First, of course, we have to create that CMS page that explains more about what free shipping involves. So when we add our CMS page, first we'll add it, then we'll complete the page information, which is the title and things like that. Then we're going to complete the content. Then we would tweak our design by choosing what type of design layout we want. Then we would enter any kind of metadata, which is, of course, your title, your description, your keywords, and things like that. Then we'll save the page. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a new CMS page. So let me get back over to my website. Okay, so once again, we're working in the same section. We're in CMS, and we're in Pages. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do, we've got a CMS page for free shipping already created. If we did not already have it created, we would add a new page right here. I'm going to edit the one that's already created. Okay, now you'll see there's some sections over here, and we'll go through each of these sections and look to see what's in here. This is how the CMS pages are, how you create a page. If it's not a catalog page, you wouldn't do this to create a product because those are catalog products, and you wouldn't, some of your other pages like your checkout and your cart and things like that are controlled through special areas. But your CMS pages, I'm gonna back up just so you can see. Your CMS pages are pretty much everything else. You've got your free shipping here. You'll see there's a 404 page here, which is what people get if your page is not found, and you can customize that however you want. The columns here mean some things. Like here you can see the URL key, which tells you how to access that page through your web browser. In this column, you can see what layout it uses, and that goes back to our slides where we looked at the various layouts, at the types of layouts that are available for a page. Single column, I can see About Us uses a single column, 1 column page. I can see the home page uses 2 columns with a left bar. So you can see those types of things here. Another thing that's really, really helpful is to see if your pages are enabled or not. So that's a good thing to know, especially if you're troubleshooting and something just doesn't work. A lot of times it's because you didn't enable it. This shows you when it was created, when they were last modified, and finally this button, these links over here let you preview a certain page before, and it could be not published yet, and you could preview it. So that's also a helpful thing. There are some ways to sort out pages here. For instance, if I had gone ahead and had my site in multiple languages, I could pull up all the English or all the German all at once if I'm looking for something in particular. So there's a lot of useful little things here that help you search. You can type in any of these, a portion of what you're looking for, and hit your search button over here, and it'll let you pull up a subset of pages. Right now, we've only got 5 or 6 pages in this site, so that doesn't do much for us. But if we had 100 pages, 100 content management pages, we'd certainly want to use the search. You can also reset your filter. If you've searched for something, then you can hit reset filter if you want to do another search, because otherwise it'll search the subset of the results that it's already found. So let's go back to free shipping. Okay. On our free shipping page, we see some of the information that we were able to see in the previous page in the list. We have the page title, free shipping, the URL key. This is what you're going to type to get to that page. So we know that on our site that we're working on today, it's karenkilroy.com/freeshipping.html, and that would get us to that page. Store view, we've enabled this for all the stores, and again, if we had our store already broken out into languages, we would only enable it for one of the stores. Status is enabled on this page, which when we first create the page, I don't believe it is. I think you have to change that. So you want to make sure that you enable your page. Now, in a live situation, I'd most likely do save and continue edit, and that would take me to the content tab, because at that point there wouldn't be any content there and it's a required field. But since I know I already have stuff filled in, I'm going to just click content, and that takes me down to that next section there. Okay, so this is the content page. If you had a heading other than the page title, it would show up here. I haven't used this. I think what it does is it puts it at the top of the page, but for right now we're going to skip this. And if we have more time at the end of the session, we'll come back and we'll play with this content heading box. In here you can see I have the bulk of my page. This, I have placed an image here, and again I did this with the image box. I won't show you that again since we did that already. Actually I will, because there's some things we didn't talk about. Let me go back into my image, and there's my image title and my alt. So my image title and my alt tag are both there, image description and image title. If I wanted to do some other things like align it on the page differently, set a border, I can do those things. However, I will say that what that will give you is inline CSS. If you're managing the whole site with style sheets, you may want to do your styling a little differently than putting in inline CSS. You may want to create styles and apply your pre-created styles to the page. And if you've done a lot of CSS, you will know what I mean. If you have not, feel free to use the functions here, because it probably doesn't matter in your particular situation. We've got some all different kinds of functions up here on the WYSIWYG editor. This is the content editor. If you've used other content management packages or pretty much any word processor, you can probably you'll probably know what a lot of these things do right off the bat. Some of the important ones that you use a lot might be to insert a link. If you want to link something, there of course is the link button, and we'll be using that in a minute when we link our block to this page. There's also a couple of special Magento only items up here. Insert variable. I like this. I've only just begun to start using it, but under the system menu, it will let you create something called a variable. So I could put my customer service rep's name as a variable. Let's say my customer service reps changed a lot, and I might want to have, Sally Sue in here today, and then a week from now I might have Janet. Well, I can create a variable under system variables, and it will let me custom variables, and then I can place it through this little gizmo right here through this icon. Now, if I had a widget to place in here, I could also insert a widget, but we won't do that in this particular page. Everything else is pretty much standard for what you would expect to find in a content management, content editing section. I like this button. This lets you edit full screen, so you're not trying to edit in a little tiny spot. All right, so we are going to say that we went ahead and did all this, even though I did it ahead of time. I typed these things in. I placed this graphic, and there's basically the essence of our free shipping page. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hop down to design. In design, I can choose how I want my free shipping page to be laid out. And once again, here's that layout word. Once again, 2 columns with right bar is what I've chosen for this. I don't need my free shipping and my Facebook and my other things to show up here in the right bar on this page, because it is the free shipping page. So what I really wanted it to do is focus on some of the things that I've set as a default for 2 columns with right bar, and we'll see that in a minute. I've got set the cart and the last viewed items as opposed to more ads, because they're on the free shipping page. They're already thinking about buying. I want them to think about product. I don't want them to think about paddleboarding lessons or Facebook. So I'm choosing 2 columns with right bar here. In this field, in the Layout Update XML, you can do some really fancy things in here if you're a programmer at all. This is where you can add things to the actual head section of your site. You can have it pull in different style sheets. You can have it run certain JavaScripts just for this page, but that's more of an advanced topic, so we're not going to talk about that today. And we're also not going to address this custom design section. So now I'm going to hop onto the metadata section. In the metadata section, I'm sure many of you are familiar with SEO and search engine concepts. This is where you can put your keywords as well as your description for your page, and that's critical if you want to be found in the search engine. So this is where that's all done in Magento. So here we are. We've got our page. We're going to, we can go save our page here. Save it here because we're done editing. I'm so used to save and continue edit, but this time we're just going to save it, and that saves it and closes it up. So there's our free shipping page. If we want to see what that's going to look like, we can hit preview. And there we go. That's what our page is going to look like. And you see over here we chose the 2 columns with the right, and 2 columns right did a few things for us. It eliminated all the things on the left that I wanted to get rid of, and then it added my things that I have set for the right, which are my recently viewed products in my cart. So if they're thinking about free shipping, I want them to still be thinking about what they're going to buy here. Okay, so that's my preview on my free shipping page. I'm going to close that up. Okay, so we know our free shipping page is called freeshipping.html. So what we're going to do next is we want to link our block to our free shipping page. So we have our free shipping page ready. So let me see, I don't have a slide on this. So our free shipping page is accessible from everywhere in the site by one click. So let me get to the site, and what we will see here, let's see, let's find our block, because we know we have to go back into our block, right? Our free shipping block is not a link right now. I'm clicking the link. So we want to link this to our freeshipping.html page. And the way we're going to do that, CMS static blocks, which we've already pulled up, I find my free shipping block here, and I'm going to click it to edit it. All right. Now, if I know HTML, I can get rid of the WYSIWYG editor, and I can do my code. I can just do an A tag and link it just like I would anything else. If I don't know HTML, I can use the editor here. And what I want to do is I want to select my graphic where I want the link. I'm going to click the link icon. And now I'm going to tell it to link to my page. In this case, I'm just going to use the free shipping .html. Now, I will say this with a qualifier. There are other ways to link in Magento. There are preferred ways to link. There's a code called store URL that you can use that is a more robust way rather than putting a link like I'm putting right now where it's a relevant link. What store URL does is it'll actually translate the site's full URL, how it is at that point. And so, like if you do a lot of moving things back from a development server or different directories or things like that, it's probably better to use the store URL link. And you can look that up online in the community, or you can wait until a later class, and we will talk about that in more in depth. Now I'm going to I made link URL be free shipping. So I'm just going to insert it. If I wanted it to pop out into a different window, I could choose that here, but I don't. So I'm going to insert my link, and then I'm going to save and continue edit, which I usually do in case there's a problem, then I can get right back real quick. Now I'm going to hop into my other tab. I'm going to refresh my page here. And now free shipping is a link. So we can test it free shipping from the home page as a link. And let's also, just to make the boss happy, we're going to test it from the product page as well, even though I know it's going to be a link because it's only one block. And if it's changed everywhere, which is the beauty of using blocks and widgets. Now see, here is where there's an instance of where I should have used the store URL. That would have avoided this problem here where my page is not found because I was already in a subdirectory. So this, in the real world, this is something I would have to go back and fix. And the store URL code is something that I still usually have to look it up. It involves curly brackets, and it's store URL equals. And during the question session, I'll do a little research and look that up and give you the exact syntax before we end today. So let's go ahead and review what we did today. All right, so our results pretty much where we link to our page. And once again, like I said, I need to tell you that store URL method of linking rather than using a relative page name like I did where I just used free shipping. You saw it worked on one instance, but if there was a subdirectory, it didn't work. So it worked here just fine. So we will talk about that in a few minutes here when I can look up the exact syntax because I would not want to tell you the wrong thing. So let's go ahead and wrap up what we've done, what we've talked about today, and it looks like we're going to have plenty of time for questions. Kara has been looking at your questions as we've been going along today. All right, so in summary, you can use the content management system in Magento to liven up your site quite a bit. You'll hear, especially if you're involved in the Magento community, a lot of people think it has to be, your content management has to be in a different system. Your content management system does not have to be a separate system. If you've got basic content pages that are added to an e-commerce site, as is very typical, the content management system in Magento is robust enough to handle it. Just some things to remember. You want to use a content management system block for repetitive content. So anytime you've got something that's going to appear over and over in your site, really give it some thought, because it may take you a little longer to figure it out on the front end, but in the long term, you're going to be so much better off putting your repetitive content into blocks, because your maintenance is going to take much less time. You want to remember to use a widget instance to place your block. If you just create the blocks and don't know about widgets, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. There's not a lot you can do with them without coding. So widget instances are your friend. They will help you place your blocks without having to know how to write the code to do that. And you want to use the CMS static block type to reference the block that you're trying to place. Now, once you've referenced that block, you want to use the layout update within the widget instance to tell the block where to appear throughout your Magento site. And as we saw with our free shipping block, we can have it appear multiple places, and only by creating one widget instance, one block, we can have our block appear in different spots on different types of pages. So that is pretty much what we did today. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. I've really enjoyed sharing this knowledge with you. We will be doing many, many more webinars, and like I said, I'm going to hand this over to Kara, and we're going to answer some questions. But I would also like to tell you, as we go on, some of this is going to get more technical. There's going to be a session on design that's in a week or two that will be very, very good in telling you how to get into the nuts and bolts of creating your own themes for Magento. And then also, too, there's going to be a programming session at the end of August where we actually talk about, okay, Magento doesn't quite do exactly what I need it to do. How can I override some of that code and make it do some custom functions? So, and that one I'll be presenting as well. So thank you very much, and I'm going to hand it over to Kara.
All right, thank you very much, Karen. A couple questions, actually a lot of questions as you've gone through. Karen, let people know what version of Magento you are working with today.
I was working with, let's go check, it's a 1.4. It's not the very, very latest. It was one right before that, so let me go over here and check. And just so everybody knows, there's a real, oops, I closed the tab. Pull that tab open again. There's a really easy way to check your Magento version. If you go down into the bottom of your admin panel, you can see there what version you're at. And I'm at 1.4.1.0. All
right, great. And a couple of people pointed out that widgets and the WYSIWYG editor are not available prior to Magento, the Community Edition 1.4, and that's true. If you're on 1.3, you don't get the WYSIWYG editor. There are available through Magento Connect. You can download the TinyMice extension and do WYSIWYG editing. The widgets aren't there. There are other ways to include content in content blocks in without using widgets. It's just a little bit more roundabout using the layout updates.
Yeah, my recommendation would be, if at all possible, upgrade, because the changes that have come about through Magento are just really awesome in the last 6-7 months.
So Karen, a couple people have asked, just going back to some of the early pieces of your examples, how you determine the position of the free shipping block onto the product detail page. I think they missed kind of how you knew it was going to show up, where it was going to show up?
I had played with it ahead of time and found out what the different regions did on the product page. That's not part of the basic layout where it shows up. Let me go back into that widget so you can see that again. When I selected product page, it told me what my options were. And I had played with it to see where it would put it for the different options, and I liked that placement. So that's why I chose that.
Okay, so it's a lot of just trial and error and experimentation with those different block references, right?
Yeah, I knew what most of them meant, so it really wasn't, it didn't take me long. I just picked the ones that I didn't know what they meant and tried that, and it put it right where I was thinking I wanted it. So
a couple of people have also asked if there's a way to exclude a block from specific pages when you set that up.
Yeah, you can. Let's see. I didn't see specifically a function that said don't show it on this page, but there's really a lot of options on how you can, where you can display it. Like if I say specified pages, then it really lets me choose what kind of page I want, or lets me put individual pages. So like I could say I wanted it on just all one-column pages, or there's all different kinds of ways you can choose here, and then plus you can choose only certain pages. So that's the trick, is if you go display on specified page, it gives you really a lot of choices.
All right, great. A couple questions came in about, is it possible to add a content page to the top navigation or the top menu, specifically in
the top menu, without programming, I would say the answer is no, but the top menu is generated dynamically based on categories. And if you go back and you watch the webinar that Kara did on the catalog, you'll see that there is a way around that. For instance, in this case, I've got paddleboard lessons. You'll see it looks quite different from my other categories. I'll show you PFDs here for a second. Okay, these are all categories: paddleboards, paddles, PFDs, and paddleboard lessons. But what I did was I used something that I learned in Kara's webinar just a few days ago. I made a category for paddleboard lessons, since it really is something that I'm selling, and it goes into my catalog. But I did not make it the same as the other pages. I used a different layout. I used, instead of the two-column left layout like you see here, I used the two-column right layout. I also, instead of having it list products, because I had no products to list here, at least not yet, what I did instead was I told it to display static block only. And so this, it looks like a CMS page, but really this is a block. And we know how to create the block because that's what we did for free shipping. So I created a block, and from my categories, I told it static block only, and named it paddleboard lessons. So it appears as though I have a CMS page up here, even though it's actually a category page.
Okay, great. And a couple of people have asked your thoughts on combining Magento with other CMS systems if they have a more elaborate page structure.
I say, it's really up to what you're wanting to do. For most of the websites that I've done that are e-commerce, usually there's only a small bit of pages that are extra beyond your product catalog. You remember, in Magento, your product catalog is probably going to be the bulk of your e-commerce website, because each of your items, you don't have to fool with CMS at all to create a product. Those are in a catalog, which of course is all menu driven. And again, I'll refer you back to Kara's last presentation. But for what I've run into, I see no reason why this couldn't do it for me as far as the CMS goes. Now, there could be, other things. There could be something particular that you've already got built in a certain CMS. There are several ways to tie those in. They're all pretty common sense. There's not really a magic way to say, okay, I've got KarenKilroy.com, and the front page should be this, and then my catalog should be KarenKilroy.com/catalog. It's probably not going to be like that. It's probably going to be with another subdirectory in there to break Magento out into its own environment. Or vice versa, or the CMS would have to be broken out into its own environment somehow. But my recommendation is really to try it first in Magento, and then if it becomes some big, giant content management project, then maybe you want to have the CMS.
And there are some, again, extensions over on Magento Connect that do facilitate connecting different blog and CMS systems to your Magento website. So it would be worth checking out some of those to see if they actually suit your purposes if you want something more complex. Those of you who are Enterprise Edition users, there is a little bit more CMS functionality inside of Enterprise in terms of providing hierarchy and some relationships like that to the CMS pages that we don't have here in the Community Edition. All right, let's see how we're doing on time. We still have about 5 minutes, and I'm trying to...
We have the store URL issue. Can we send that out to the folks with the exits or with an email, or should I go ahead and research that now?
No, I went ahead and shot it out to them in the chat.
Oh, good. Okay.
You guys should have seen that.
Oh,
and
I see.
We can follow up as well.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't want to give the wrong syntax, so that's excellent. Thank you.
So a couple people have asked throughout, what about the default blocks that show up, the dog and the customer support blocks on Magento websites? Are those not widgets? Are those not CMS blocks?
Those are not CMS blocks, and they're not widgets. Those were carried over from earlier versions of Magento before you had CMS blocks and widgets. And one of the things that we plan to do in the design and theming webinar is to show people how to remove those. They're done mostly, they're in a different combination of places. They're mostly through the XML files. Catalog.xml would be a place to find those. But again, I would recommend that if you possibly can, to wait until after the design webinar, because then you'll learn how to remove them properly.
Okay, great. And somebody asks if it's possible to put flash objects instead of images into these content blocks.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't upload it the same way, guys, because
oh, no.
The uploader's not going to know what to do with it, but you can put the embed code there, and then you'll have to manually FTP your Flash, your Swift file, up onto your server in the proper location. But these are just hunks of HTML, and you can put any HTML in them.
Yes. And usually, too, for Flash, it doesn't make you put any JavaScript or anything in there extra. It's just your embed code.
Okay. Well, why don't we, let me see if I can, a couple of people asked about that. This is beyond the scope of this particular webinar, but a couple of you asked about the difficulty of upgrading from 1.3 to 1.4, and I'll let Karen weigh in as well. It is a significant step up because the theming structure changed between those two versions, and so it's not just a matter of moving the new core files up there, but it often affects how your themes behave, especially if you happen to have created themes or customized your theme inside of the default directory or someplace like that. So there are some. So there's a bit of extra effort to make this move up. It's worth it, but there's the potential that definitely don't do it on your live site if you do this upgrade. Do it in a dev environment or on your local host.
Yeah, I would agree. You definitely want to do it in a development environment, and I'd say there could be a wide variety of how difficult it is for you based on how your site is set up. With Magento, and again, this is a topic that will be discussed heavily in the theming webinar, but in Magento, you don't want to just go in and change your core code. You don't want to just go in and change your designs, your default design. What you do instead is you override those, and you'll find that when you create a new theme, you won't need 1,000 files in your theme. You're going to just override with the 2 or 3 that you change. And if you've done your websites that way in the past, if that's the way you've been managing Magento, then it shouldn't be too painful of an upgrade. But if you have all your changes embedded in the core code or in the default theme, you may find it's a little more difficult to untangle.
A couple of people, as a last question, a couple of people ask about the contact form and whether that's a CMS page or not.
The contact form? No, it's not a CMS page. It's a special Magento page.
Right. So because the contact form, it is generated by Magento automatically. It's not inside of the CMS system. This is one of those places where when you're working with your themes, you may want to add a content block to that contact form at the top so that you can edit it from the admin panel, but that's not there by default. It's a simple bit of customization, but it is a bit of customization inside of the theme level. All right. There are lots of other questions. I'll certainly shoot them over to Karen and afterward, and we can try to address some of the ones that occur the most often with you guys. But thank you again for your time and attention, and we'll look forward to the next set of webinars next week.
Thank you.
Thanks all.